Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and today it's my proud privilege to be welcoming a father-son duo. And it is very rare to see father and son working together in a business which requires them to interact with people and connect with them, as well as learn where they stand in terms of their financial graph and help them. And this tradition of helping in the field of insurance is not new to my guests who are joining me today. So before we talk more about them, let me begin by introducing this young man who started working with his father at a tender age of 18, and that too in a field which is not very easy for many people to think themselves succeeding in, and that is a field of providing financial advice or sharing which insurance would fit in. So Neil Zaveri, partner of Zaveri Insurance, joins me today. Namaste. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vyas.
And Neil, how do you feel sitting near your father in the studio today?
It's a pleasure. I've just been blessed.
Wonderful. And I have the pleasure of welcoming someone who has helped many clients over a period of almost 4 decades now as a part of this business, which his father also did. So it is a lineage of grandfather for Neil that came to the partner of Zaveri Insurance, Salil Zaveri ji. Salil ji, welcome.
Namaste, Ashok ji.
Neil, I am tempted to start with your father, man. So, insurance business, your childhood days, observing your father, how was it growing up, seeing your father in action in this field?
Seeing him come from India, I was 9 years old, and coming here and starting insurance from the very beginning. It was interesting to see how he did it differently from everyone else, because there are so many insurance people in our industry, and for him to come brand new to a country and have no knowledge of the insurance products in this country and to succeed at it, he did it in a unique way. And that was a pleasure, and that made me realize, growing up in that family from age 9 to 18, that I too can do it, because he was sincere, he was about information and guiding people with knowledge, not with selling techniques. So he was not one of those people that had to lie or deceive. He just educated, and I love that in him. Wonderful. And I'm able to follow that guidance.
It is so nice to hear what you just said, and when you genuinely respect what your father is doing, it somewhere helps your self-esteem to come up. And from that point of view, Neil, not only your grandfather, but I believe your grandmother was also in insurance business. Do you remember something?
Right. So I've been hearing this in the house since I was just a little kid, 3 generations now, and Grandma gives me techniques, and I think she's, even smarter than I'll ever be at her elder age.
So before we talk about both of you, Neil ji and Salil ji, talk to me a little bit about what difference you found in your father and mother in terms of their approach towards this insurance business.
My dad was more about guiding people with information, and my mom was more about taking action. My mother would say to people, "What are you waiting for? You don't have insurance, stop shopping, get started." And my dad would take his sweet time explaining, and he would leave it to people to choose when they choose to buy. So of the two, there's a happy balance. I think my father was one extreme, that he left people with information, and many probably did not take action because he didn't push them. And my mother might have turned off some people and pushing people a little too hard. So I think the combined approach, when they worked together, it worked well, because the family saw that the information was all presented, and my mother said, "Let's get started. Why wait? You don't want to be exposed." And I think that passed on to me. I think I have a hybrid approach, and I help people not realize just the facts, but at the same time I do push them gently to say, let's get going. And Neil is an amazing partner for me now, because he's a technology guru. When I started 40 years ago, we were doing everything by hand calculations of rates with a rate book. And then the Wang computer came along with 8.5 floppy disks, and then everything else came along. But we did it the old-fashioned way, and Neil does it so much faster than us.
Neil, share a little bit about your understanding of technology and how in your business in particular, this is insurance, what is the importance of knowing A, B, C to X, Y, Z of technology? Any insight?
It's huge because the industry keeps changing, and as we see, the government's going to keep trying to take away our tax advantages and change the products. So we have to have access to every company, because if we don't, then we're going to get stuck selling one product. And for me, I have to have access to everything in the industry so I can help every single client that's given to me. Thank God I have center of influence like Salil Zaveri. So technology is, it's a game changer.
Wonderful. Technology is a game changer, but there is one technology that comes with us from India, which is what we would say is Indian values or Indian family values, and the kind of understanding which we assume is bound to be there between a father and son, and that when you see so dynamically demonstrated in a business like insurance, it makes us feel good. And when we talk about feeling good, ultimately what makes people feel good is that they were served well, and the person that they were dealing with was fair in giving the kind of advice which was needed for them. So there are different ways in which people can be given insurance. So there are some people who are regular agent, there are banks also now in the insurance business, there are some stockbrokers who have this also as a part of their whole kitty that is being offered. Now you are serving as independent insurance brokers. What is the major significant difference which gives you an additional advantage to serve them better?
Well, we specialize. If you were having a brain surgery, if it was life-threatening, you'd want to go to a brain surgeon, you wouldn't go to a knee surgeon. So in a similar way, in insurance, to know there's over 150 insurance companies in the state of New York. There's over 1,500 insurance companies in the United States, and our specialty is insurance. So we keep up with not just one company, we keep up with knowing all the companies. Now, if a banker or a stockbroker or an agent were to compete with us, they would have limited knowledge because they have their single company information, or they have only who the bank chooses to partner with for that banker to do business with for insurance. Or the stockbroker has a limited portfolio of companies that have a partnership arrangement with that brokerage house. So if you're a client, you want to have all your options. You want to understand what the industry can offer you and your family, because it's not just differences in price, it's differences in contractual provisions. So when it occurs, the claim, it's not just death, it could be long-term care illness, it could be disability claim, it could be health insurance claim. You want to make sure that the company you chose is giving you the best value and the proper coverage. Because if then when claim time comes, every insurance company is happy to take your premium, but when it's time to pay the claim, they may give you some fine print to say that's not covered. Now the stockbroker or the banker or the independent agent who represents one company may have limited knowledge of what's really out there. We understand the industry. We keep up with the contracts. We keep up with software, which my specialist here is nobody better than technology than Neil. I mean, I was doing this myself before he joined me 7 years ago, and technology is ever changing. And to keep up with what's happening out there, it's very important for the clients to have good advice.
So while I appreciate what compliment your father is offering for you, and I mean, every father is impressed, but some fathers are more impressed. So Neil, you are lucky one. But then technology is making everything users friendly. So
Right.
in essence, many times you feel that you don't really have to be a tech guru to be able to do things. Many times people
Right.
look at computer and think that if I can use Facebook and WhatsApp, and I know all the technology is there. But I know there is much more to it. But Neil, when we talk about insurance, there is difference in the perception of the need of insurance. If you are young, below 30, you would see that why should I have additional money going in there? So talk to me a little bit about your impressions in terms of age group wise. What are the different perceptions people have about the need of insurance?
Right. Well, to piggyback off what Dad was saying, I mean, technology is going to continue to change, not just in our industry, right? So we're seeing jobs be taken over, and what we need to do is basically deliver on spectacular service. The mass affluent and the closely held business is always that will always win the day. No matter what in the mass affluent market, if you make a promise, you better deliver on it. Otherwise, your clients will know best. So as far as the millennials, those industries are completely going to change, and service doesn't matter. Technology will take over. We see it coming in the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
Can't change it.
Mm-hmm. So similar question to you, Salilji, your experience and potentially people whom you served, perception about insurance among youth versus senior.
Well, the difference is this. The people who newly came into the industry for product shopping, which is newlyweds, people who had their first baby, they are thinking about life insurance primarily to make sure that there's enough to cover any debts, such as a mortgage or college costs. The seniors are thinking about retirement, they're thinking about long-term care. So you have a contrast of needs. And then you have the people in the middle who have all the needs. They need to have those debts covered, and they're starting to think about retirement and long-term care. So we have a spectrum of products, spectrum of companies, and we spreadsheet everything. So this is where the technology comes in. It's not just inputting the data. If you look at the summaries that Neil prepares for the clients, how he details and articulates all the options they have, not just one company, but all the companies, and the contractual provisions, and how to switch possibly the existing contract to the newer contract. I mean, I read his summaries and I'm so impressed how he does it with technology and with knowledge. So he's really, really good.
So Neil, once again, you are good, and I'm happy that you are good and your dad is happy, and I'm sure clients whom you serve, they are also happy. But talk to me a little bit about what is it that makes you good in terms of this business? What skill sets?
We've had a tremendous success in reviewing existing policies. I mean, these things have been neglected over the years for 30, 40 years in some cases, and the needs have changed. And what I've seen is these agents have come in and they've made a sale, they've made a commission, and they've no longer reviewed over all these years what they can do. And a lot of times the need has changed to long-term care, disability, and there's no longer death benefit. So the biggest advantage is just looking at the existing program and seeing if we can upgrade that without adding cost to the client.
Wonderful. Salil, there are some stories which are a part of your life as independent insurance broker. There must have been some people whom you served in a way which made them feel grateful about the way they were helped, because at the end of the day, it is between life and death and what happens in between. And what happens in between has a lot to do with having resources that you need at a particular point of time. So any story of that kind?
Well, there are obviously in 40 years, there are many clients, many stories, and it's personal, so I don't want to talk about somebody dying or somebody disabled. But I was happy that I've never had a situation where I misguided someone. There's never been a situation where we didn't pay the claim because of our neglect. There have been clients who may not have gotten paid because they were giving incomplete information to the insurance company. And sometimes if the clients don't give us all the data, we can't give all the data to the carrier. And obviously the insurance company is going to find a loophole not to pay. And we've rarely ever had that happen, which is a good story for us. But the good thing about this is that prices have come down. And in the 40 years that I've been in the business, people are living longer and longer. So when I started in 1978, 40 years ago, people were expected to live into their 60s. And the policies were priced accordingly. And now today, they're expected to live close to their 90s. And all along the way, the prices have continuously come down, similar to cell phones. You remember when we were paying 50 cents a minute for our cell phones. And when somebody called us, we said, I'll call you from a landline because it was so expensive.
Absolutely.
Today, for $50 maybe, we can get unlimited calling and data and text. And same has happened to life insurance industry. And I would urge people to really keep looking at that life insurance policy, that disability policy, the long-term care policy as a commodity, not as an asset that they bought and hold in a safe deposit box. So just like people shop for car insurance annually and get a better deal and a better deal, as they keep searching for a better deal, we as independent brokers keep going back on behalf of the client and looking to see if there's a better deal, if they're still healthy. For example, somebody that I might have sold 40 years ago $1 million policy, today for the same person, even though they're older, as long as they're still healthy, they may be able to get $1.5 million, close to $2 million. So why would they have that old policy sitting in the drawer, leaving their family short by $500,000 to $1 million? The insurance company is never going to go back to them and say, oh, we've lowered our price, let us do that for you. They're going to keep charging at the old rate. The only way that's going to happen where the client gets more for the same money, using the new mortality tables, meaning people living longer, so the insurance companies are charging less. The only way that change is going to come is by seeing an independent broker who goes to the marketplace and shops to see what that person's health can do for them today in the marketplace, and give them those extra hundreds of thousands of dollars of benefits for their family.
That's beautiful in the sense that what is available for us, if we are not aware, then even though it is there, it doesn't exist for us. So in order for this to exist, we need to sit with experts. And here I have the pleasure of sitting with two experts, and that too team of father and son, Zaveri, independent insurance brokers. Now, Neil, talk to me a little bit about your initial days when you trying to take interest, or it just happened? Because I know when you're talking about fine prints, there are very few people who would read those fine prints. Even if you are in the business, I don't think everybody would read those fine prints. And even when we are downloading some app, or they have so many things that they make us sign. So we just scroll and we say tick, yes, okay, and that's how. So in your case, how was it initially for you to go to the details? Were you pushed by your father, or how that interest developed?
Well, I've been really fortunate in many ways, but one thing is he never pushed me to be in this industry. It was always a choice. And I've always felt like you have to be really lucky to find passion. But if you find it at a really young age, then you really hit the jackpot. And I figured from a young age, I've been hearing this at 6 years old, 7 years old, grandma was in the business, dad's in the business. Obviously, my grandfather passed away in '88, 4 years before I was born, so I didn't get to learn from him. But just absorbing everything from dad, from grandma, I knew from a young age I'd probably enter this industry. And at 18, when I came in, I saw all the captive agents selling these clients and not really giving them the best service. So I would say by 19, I knew I'd be doing this for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. You found the inner calling at that young age. And Salil, what is the advantage for you to be working with your son? And if you are serving some clients, how it helps them also to be working with a team of father and son?
Well, when you buy something, for example, if you get a car, you expect to be able to go to a place and service it when it breaks down. It has to be a warranty, right? Nobody wants to buy a car and drive out and be on their own with all the problems that can happen. So the warranty is important, and a place to go fix it is important. So in my case, that warranty is nil. Because what happens is, yes, we could sell something And yes, I have 40 years of experience to help people choose the right product. And Neil has 7 years of experience. So we have 47 years together to guide someone correctly. But down the road, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, when they need help with claims, it's important that they can call somebody. I'm 57, I'll be 58 this summer. I don't know how much longer I'll be around. My dad passed away at 56. I may go in a year, 2 years. You never know. Life is fragile.
You can go up to 100, let's say.
Let's hope. Let's hope. If I'm around, I will certainly be there to help clients because I love what I do. But let's also be practical and say that if you buy a policy from someone, you want to make sure that it's serviced 5, 10, 20 years down the road when the claims arise for disability, for long-term care. There's a lot of follow-up involved. And to know that Neil is 25 and that he'll be around because he loves it, that he'll be 35 or 45 or 55 or 65 to help them when they need it and to help their kids, get the right product started. That's important. I want continuity, and I'm very blessed that Neil loves the business. I'm blessed that he understands it so well. I'm learning from him now. There are things that comes to me after he comes back from all the meetings he attends, and he says, Dad, we can do this, we can do that. He has so much fire in his eyes to help people. And he can help people, and to have that service down the road. So that father and son team, I enjoy the fact that not only do we bring experience to the table to help people choose the right things, look at the fine print, we look at the fine print, and we show them the fine print, company by company. And we say we could choose this, or we could choose this, or we could choose this. Here's the price difference, here's the fine print. Let's see which one do you prefer for your need. And we guide them through the process. That's the one part, selling. But the other part is servicing. And that's where the father and son team comes together, where he can see it through 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
Wonderful. Neil, talk to me a little bit about the general reservations people have towards insurance. This is not considered to be one of the essential items. Let us say you have to pay the rent, or you have to take care of the educational expenses, food, etc., etc. And then you say, oh, okay, God takes care of me. I don't have to have any insurance. Even if I don't have it, it's all right. That's not my priority. So looking at the way things are in the world, a changing scenario of the economic cycle, or potentially important, significant tax-related changes, what would you say in terms of this space? It is important to have insurance, or the way many people think that it's all right not to have it?
Right. So anyone who feels that way, I would just tell them simply, the idea of insurance is universal. That same thing with home insurance. You have a 1 in 1,200 chance that your home catches fire. But you probably don't have $200,000 sitting around in case that your house catches fire. So you're not going to miss your homeowner's insurance premium. That would just be silly. Same thing with getting sick. You're much more likely to get sick than you are to catch fire in your home. So why would you not have a long-term care policy or a disability income policy? The idea of insurance is not to get you rich. It's just to keep you rich or to be your safety net.
The same question to you, because you have more experience of having worked with people, and when you sit across the table with people and they want to learn about the best way to deal with their set of situations and in what way insurance fits in. So what are the typical first 3-4 things that you would tell them to educate them?
Well, you said that God will take care. That's the approach many people take, that their priority and their limited budget might have to go towards the car payment or the homeowners or some other priorities in their mind. And so most of the time when they say to me, God will take care, I would say, who do you think sent me? So here I am. Let's take care of it. So that's on the funny side. But on the honest side, I would say that, look, there's no good time to start another expense. It's always priorities. You have things you want to do. But if we can show you a way to actually do this in a more efficient manner than you doing it on your own. So for example, let's talk about long-term care. People are getting older. When I am 65, I'm 58 soon, And when I'm 65, I expect to have some old age symptoms. Everybody will. Doctors will, dentists will, nobody's immune.
Right.
They can know all the secrets of how to stay healthy, but you still get old age symptoms. The body gets weaker and the body eventually dies. So when that happens, they're going to have to earn less or stop earning and start using their own money, because the expenses don't go away. You still have, lifestyle, you still have real estate taxes. Even if you got rid of the mortgage, you still have, all the other things that you normally do. You eat, you clothe, and you travel. So where is this money going to come from in your old age when the income slows down or stops? Your assets. You'll spend down your own money. Now, if there's a better way to do it, if I can have the long-term care plan pay for all these things, most people don't understand that they can have the long-term care company pay for the mortgage, pay for the rent, pay for the utilities, pay for the car payment, pay for groceries, pay for the cell phone bill. Why would they want to pay out of their pocket when they can have all of that covered by the insurance company? Now, most people have bought the traditional long-term care plan. That traditional long-term care plan is a reimbursement plan only, which means only eligible expenses are covered, such as a nurse coming home to help you.
Right. So, Salil, I'm sorry to interrupt you. See, what happens is when you start listening to someone like Salil Zaveri talking about insurance, you start thinking in your mind that, oh, there is much more than what I thought I know about it. So, in order to have exact details with respect to your own set of situations, it is definitely necessary to sit across the table with the details, and then things can move forward. But for now, we will be moving forward towards the point where we thank Neil Zaveri and Salil Zaveri ji for joining us here today. And once again, it is a continuation of the Indian cultural values in terms of having this kind of beautiful working relationship, as well as a sense of understanding and in-depth knowledge of one branch of knowledge, which is very, very important and which is a basis. And interestingly, it connects life and death in a way which is unique. So as we conclude this conversation, Neil, it is a challenge for you. As you go about doing your business, are you aware that you need to improve on something more? Or so what is it that you aspire to add to the assets that you have to serve your clients?
Right, that's a great question. Obviously, need to improve in so many different areas, but the number one thing I would say for anyone coming in our industry is to get yourself a Salil Zaveri so they can refer you business. But seriously, if you're coming in our industry and you don't know how to find prospects and you're spending time on paperwork and things like that, I would say you need to, number one, have a great staff behind you so you can spend all your time building relationships with people like yourself and my dad, who are centers of influence and have great contacts and friends, or CPAs or attorneys. So this way you have always a pipeline of prospects coming in. And that is the main reason why 90% of people in my industry are out in the first year.
Absolutely.
That's where I can improve for sure, is finding different prospects and different strategies on how to build myself up in the community like you guys have.
Thank you very much. You indirectly complimented your dad and me both, so I appreciate that. That's a good trait, actually, to succeed, that you look at the positive side of life. And as we conclude, Salilji, any thing that you would like to share with our viewers?
Well, I would say that don't hold on to your policies in your drawers. Don't feel as though you've already paid for it and now it's almost paid off. There's no such thing. A whole life policy is paid for to age 100. So whether you're paying out of your pocket or your dividends are being used or you're loaning money from the policy to cover it, something is paying. So shop. Don't take for granted that you got the best deal. Prices have come down 30 times in the last 40 years. And if you've not gone back and repriced what you can have, not just in price, because a discount on a policy might go from, let's say, $5,000 premium to $4,000 premium. And that $1,000, if you're a senior, may not motivate you. You might look at it as, what's $1,000? It's not worth the trouble. But if that $1,000 buys an extra $500,000 of dollars and assets to your family and coverage, that's a meaningful amount to leave on the table.
So it is a way of discovering treasure or hidden treasure with the help of Zaveris. So Neil, thank you very much for joining us with lots of good wishes to you. And Salilji, thank you very much for being with us.
Ashokji
thanks.
and our Indian community
Thank you.
and everyone else, thank you.
On that note of thanks, lots of good wishes for both of them as well as for all of you. This is Ashok Vyas.